Hey everyone, we're back with another AI conversation, and I'm joined today by someone who's actually asked me to review his work. I don't want to waste any more time now. I just want to dive right into it. So welcome to the show, JJ.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
Yeah. So before we dive into the bits of things, no, uh, maybe give our audience the short introduction. So what do you do? And then after that, let's start talking about your work.
Absolutely. So my name is JJ. You can call me JJ. I operate a service called JJ Freelance Services. So what I do is I help agencies do things faster, and I do so through the power of AI, as well as some standardized process improvement methodologies such as Lean Six Sigma. So those two things, if you combine those two together, really powerful.
Yeah, I saw nga on your LinkedIn you're certified Lean Six Sigma, no? And it's nice. It's nice that you actually are tackling freelancers because quite recently I was in an event in Calapan, Mindoro, and I encountered a number of people who are into the freelance industry. Although you have BPOs and you have freelancers, parang we're blurring the line na between them, right? There are
Yeah.
companies that are empowering freelancers, and you empower companies that empower freelancers, which is awesome. Maybe question muna before we dive into your work. Um, how did you get started with this, with AI and with with helping freelancers?
So that's a very good question. So back in early March, um, someone from a freelancing community introduced me to an email copywriting and email marketing course.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's quite far, but the story goes, um, during one of the few modules that we were tasked with completing, one of those things were um, researching. So market research, um, taking a look at the market, check to see which leads are more likely to convert. So I had an epiphany. I tried, I tried, I tried doing a lot of things to sort of gather as much information as I could to research the market that I was supposed to research.
What was the
Sometimes,
product pala, just out of curiosity?
good question. That was my first prototype.
Uh-huh.
The I called it data extraction V1.3. To
Which you
its version.
developed on your own.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought about this thing after watching there's this American guy on YouTube who is very fluent in speaking Mandarin.
Ah,
Yeah, and upon observation, it seems that if you try to speak in a language that your target market fully understands, that would make things a lot easier.
right.
And since I worked at a BPO company as a tech support representative, um, I was able to very easily implement the thoughts as quickly as I could. So, I basically used my day job as a sounding board.
Hmm.
Really cool. Because
So wait,
yeah,
so you were going back to your story. So you were doing market research. The market was for what kind of service or market?
yeah. So, uh, 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 um, at the modules that was provided, we were tasked. We had full uh choice. We had full creativity over which market we wanted to serve.
Okay.
So that was one of the core teachings of the course. And so I decided to look for musicians, music producers.
Musicians. Okay.
Yes. And so I found this I guess prospect client, and then tried to implement process first. So basically, what I did, um, the prototype of it is you gather as much lexicons, we call these lexicons, like personal vocabularies within a given market, and then you try creating a copy with those lexicons to
Okay.
make it easier for your target audience to understand and resonate with your messages, your copy. Yeah.
So you were
Well,
writing copy for musicians, tama?
for musicians,
Okay, okay,
yes.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it progressed into other projects. And the next project that I built out of it was I tried to sort of implement it in a more consolidated way to serve um, more types of freelancers. So that includes content creators, copywriters,
Hmm.
entrepreneurs, technical writers, so on and so forth. So yeah, and yeah, until it progressed to the project progressed to customer service until it also progressed to marketers and data analysts. So yeah, the advent of AI has made it really clear that people who used to not have these means to do so, they now have the means to do so through this. I guess we could call it a reality calculator.
Okay. Okay, before you get into details, because I'd love for people to see exactly what you've been doing. Um, I also work closely with BPOs, through IBPAP. And one of the most common tropes is, AI will destroy jobs or will take jobs from humans.
Mm,
But in your case, it sounds like, let me know if I'm wrong, that the role of AI is actually to augment or enhance what humans do. So you have, like, you're on the ground, basically. What's the view like from the ground with all these AI powered tools coming in?
yeah, precisely. That's a very good question. So one of the projects which I've built, called it Project Madison. It was designed specifically to help customer service representatives do better at their job. The ultimate goal was to save time and money for both the client and the customers. But then again, it also served as a way for them to improve their skills as as customer service representatives who may be required to be what I would quote AI literate.
Mm-hmm.
So quote unquote AI literate. So because in the future, I really believe that most likely the candidates who are already very well versed or at least have basic knowledge on how the AI works, they would most likely be shortlisted at at job interviews. And so yeah, so that's one of the main goals of the projects which I've built, um, Project Management. And yes, you are correct. AI isn't supposed to replace jobs. They do a lot of things that that humans can accomplish in much less time and for much less resources. But then again, we also have this capability of being really smart when it comes to building a lot of stuff. So why not combine these two systems, right? And so that's part of the process, part of the objectives.
So in your case, apart from the Six Sigma background, how
Mm.
did you get started with playing around with AI? Was it something you just thought of one day and I'm gonna start playing with this, or did you have to study something special to do so?
Good question. So when ChatGPT got released in November 2022, I wasn't very keen on how these things worked. It was only sometime around February when I discovered ChatGPT 3.5.
February this year.
Last year.
Last year. Okay,
Yeah, last year.
2023.
So
Okay.
and so yeah, and and yeah, try to experiment with it. I already had some stuff which I always wanted someone to sort of provide feedback to some of my creative works, but I couldn't find any.
Mm-hmm.
So 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 I asked ChatGPT for feedback, some creative stuff such as poetry, some song lyrics, so on and so forth. And yes, so far I've been very happy with the novelty. And
So you
then
so you started by asking the chatbot to comment on what you've written. Parang
yeah.
ganon.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically. So yeah, sabi ko lang is give feedback to this poetry I wrote.
Okay. What was the kind of
And
feedback you got? Just out of curiosity.
yeah, good question. So a lot of a lot of the output that AI produces, it's even today, they sort of they sort of teeter towards pandering the user, you know.
Right.
But then again, we've come to a point where you can ask it to sort of role play to someone else,
Mm-hmm.
and within that context, pwede mo naman sabihin na ano eh, um, don't pander, parang ganun. So
So you can
just
tell
just
it to
be
be
honest.
critical.
Yeah,
Don't try to please me too much.
exactly. So
Okay.
so yeah, that's one of the first things that I did is to have a sort of conversation. At that time, you know how I interpreted AI at that time was because there were already some chatbots available back
Mm-hmm.
then.
Mm-hmm.
We had Siri. You can talk to Google. You can talk to Cortana for Windows phones. But as time progressed, it showed that generative AI was more than just a chatbot. So it dawned on me, it made sense that perhaps there are some other things to do with this, not just as a novelty tool. So I tried using it at work, Chat GPT, last year when it was still not that advanced. But then again, it was it saved me a lot of time. Um, creating documents, creating reports, so on and so forth. It was only very recently, I think that was last April, when I started, building these things.
Mm-hmm.
Just out of, sheer curiosity. What would happen if I sort of tried to learn the hardest thing that I could and then try to teach it to my cat? I had a cat, same as Mukbang, and and I just, you know, porch him over and then ask him, "Hey, what do the what you call this, the rubber duck method that you guys use as coders?"
Right.
And yeah,
Talk
so
to the duck.
so yeah, it was a really fun experience. It also made me think that um, there are a lot of things that AI can do. Why not? Why don't we explore them? It's still at its infancy, but
So
better
this
that
was
we
like
know now. Yeah.
sheer curiosity out of your part. No one asked you to do it. What about at work? Do you get like pushback that you're using these tools, or is it something that the IT department? Because usually that's what comes in the way. And if you want to try something new, there's
Mhm.
a there's an IT guy who says, "Oh, we have to have that approved." Blah blah blah. Did you ever get that problem or pushback?
Yeah. That's a really good question actually, because so far, and last June when we were, when the company was trying to clean house, I I had some of the drafts for Project Madison submitted to our operations manager. And then I asked him, "Sir, would you kindly take a look at these drafts and give as much feedback as you could?" As far as the critic part of it goes, it still is very much attached to sort of the bureaucratic processes of
Yeah.
how BPOs work. So it's not necessarily doesn't have anything to do with the use of AI, and because uh, as far as I know, this could be new to them. And maybe in the future when they would implement more policies and using AI. But then again, so far, I guess the most pushback that I got was we have our own training the department. We have our own research department. So
Within
yeah,
the company, and they were
within the
teaching
company.
you how to use AI.
Oh no, actually that was their verbatim.
Okay, okay.
We have our own research and training department.
You mean they were
Yeah,
telling you you don't have to do that.
yeah, exactly.
Other people will do that. But were
Yeah,
they doing it? Just out of curiosity, because that sounds like a very corporate
it is.
response to
It is.
innovation, no? So they
Yeah,
won't
yeah,
allow
yeah.
you to innovate because they're like these the big wigs, no? Whoever
Yeah,
they are.
exactly.
How did you
Yeah,
respond to that?
that's a very good question too. So I just told him, well, if you guys want to use it, then go ahead and use it. It's there if you want to use it. But I
Mm-hmm.
respect the the policy and all that. And it's quite funny actually, because a month later, our client released an AI tool which very closely resembled Madison, and it's really funny. But then again, it was a really proud moment for me as well. Uh, First time that I thought, wow, it's really cool. It resembles the tool that I built. It's really great.
So, do you know for
Yeah,
a
yeah.
fact if they used your stuff or this pure coincidence? What do you think?
I don't know, because the progress of AI is really they're like waves. They're like sea waves, ocean
Mm-hmm.
waves.
Mm-hmm.
So they converge at some point at some perhaps it's coincidence. But then again, I had project manager submitted to our client too. So I sent
So,
it to one of the trainers as well.
so you'll never know, right? If they used, they should at least, if they did, attribute it to you. No, like we use
well,
some parts of JJ's work and blah blah blah. That's the sad part, no. Okay,
well,
okay, yeah,
well. In any case, I'm really happy that it was being implemented. At least some parts of it,
yeah,
the principle. At least more agents would get to use it,
yeah, exactly.
and yeah, and because I try to envision a future where worst case scenario, I would presume Luddites, some really old agents who, I don't need this AI. I can do this all by myself, so on and so forth. And then come
So
to,
do you encounter that pushback as well? I think you're kind of mapping out the entire ecosystem of people who will not adopt AI, no? Parang the boss, the IT
yeah, yeah,
department, the client, and then now you have your colleagues who are Luddites, no? What a word, no? Oh,
exactly. So, yeah, most of the pushback that I received, or at least indirectly experienced, I've never had someone tell me outright that these things that you are doing, um, you know, people can do them better, so on and so forth. I've
mm.
never had any of those feedback.
No one has ever said that, like
No, no,
verbally.
actually. Yeah, because I guess more people would rather not do anything, than to cause up a stir. But then again, most of the pushback I got was, or I guess took into account copywriters, because there are definitely some copywriters who are anti-AI, and artists as well, traditional artists. I
Right.
do agree. Yeah, for most artistic work, I do agree that, companies like Microsoft or ChatGPT, they should at least ask permission from the artists before they get to use it as training data. That's a really valid, argument against AI.
Mm.
But yeah, but so far, the things that AI has done artistically, creatively, they I wouldn't be able to create AI or create artwork if it weren't for AI, because well, that's one of the things I'm not very good at is illustrating.
Pictures and no,
Yeah,
photos. Pero so sige,
drawing.
it's
Yeah,
good you
yeah.
touched on that because that's another
Mm,
trope that I also encounter.
mm,
I noticed that the people who push back against AI generally are coming from fields where there's a lot of gatekeeping, you know, like art, academia, journalism, education. So in these fields, parang there's always this sense of you're not legit or you're legit, blah blah blah, no, something like that.
Yeah.
And now it extends to artists, no. Now people say, "Oh, you don't know your stuff. You don't know you don't know the manual way of creating art, blah blah blah."
Yeah, that's
So
one of the
so
things
in your
too.
case, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's one of the things as well. But I guess it has mostly something to do with the individual na. You know, it's really it's hard to generalize people. So I guess some people would be that way, you know. Sabihin nila na, oh, you just use AI art, it's not really art, you know, it's like microwaving chicken instead of right, instead of you know, cooking it on a kebab or whatever. Diba? So I understand the I guess the pride because it's not very easy to make art, you know. You have to be a certain person. There has to be a certain inclination. I once took Jordan Peterson's Big Five personality test, and it basically maps out the entire psyche and has really good, solid empirical data to back it up.
Is that the
And
ocean framework?
the Big Five framework, which highlights five, you know, five emotional, or sorry,
Yeah.
psychological
Isn't that like ocean? Like
dimensions.
openness, conscientiousness,
Yeah.
extroversion. That's
Yeah.
it,
Yep.
diba? Ocean. Yeah.
Ocean, yeah, perhaps, yeah. That's exactly what it is. And yeah, and there's a specific dimension, didn't it? Which is aesthetics and orderliness. And the one I realized now, no, you can actually measure someone's creativity that way. You know,
Ah,
if
you mean
you
people who are creative have a certain type of ocean, parang,
uh,
or certain type of personality,
ex- i-
tendency. Is that right?
in a way, yeah, they have a, you know, if you were to map it out via if it resembles a wavelength, they would you know, their wavelengths would be very similar to each other. So yeah, and that's how I discovered that perhaps some people can use AI in ways that may not be necessarily creative, but it's very useful. And maybe there are some other creative people who, you know, didn't have access to these things. They didn't have the means to sort of create stuff that they wanted to until AI came. And to me, that's really, you know, it's quite an evangelical sort of advent, you know, this revolution that we are now experiencing.
Okay. Sige. About what you've discovered or what you've developed, so people understand it better. You mentioned Project ano ba, Madison earlier. I mean, tell us more about it.
Absolutely. So Project Madison is a response tool. Na, it's designed to simulate 8 call center processes, call flow processes, such as the standardized AER, which is found in call centers, assure, sorry, acknowledge, empathize, and reassure. And it also provides mga troubleshooting steps to help customers try to fix problems on their own. One of the things that I tried to do was to to try to envision the perfect customer scenario. And I came across this big think video about this he's a really good restaurateur. I forgot his name. I can provide later on. And he he basically authored a book that outlines the ideal customer service experience. And one of the key things is to become uh ridiculously what you call this, when someone invites you to their home and you feel like you're at your own home. It's on the tip of my tongue, pero yun, um ridiculously amazing over deliverance of customer service is basically what it is. And it doesn't have to be expensive, you know. It's just a matter of siguro intindihin mo lang talaga eh. Yung if you want to talk to someone in a way that they would resonate with you the most, try to acknowledge everything that they just said. And thankfully we now have the technology to do so. You know, meron na tayong SS um you know, speech transcribers, and then you can just simply feed it to a prompt template, and then that prompt will then provide an output that would completely resonate with the customer. So in a way, parang ano ba nag-usap tayo, and then after a few moments, you receive a text from me outlining everything, basically all the details that we talked about a few hours ago, diba? Imagine, imagine you as a customer, diba? And you're frustrated because of this product or this service, and you want to, you know, sabihin mo na lahat sa phone. Because I've had that kind of experience as well before with yung internet provider namin. You know, sometimes you get frustrated, you say things that you regret later on, but you can capitalize on that data. You can capitalize on those things that you regretted saying through AI. And then by incorporating those together, incorporating a prompt that would respond accordingly based on what the person said, this this basically created a response for the customer that only fits this customer. One size fits one, basically. Yeah. And at the same time, what siguro one of the challenges to me when I started building Project Madison was how do I make it a one size fits one response?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but then the input is a sort of one size fits all template. Now, agents should be able to understand very easily. The customer service representative should be able to understand very easily, and it should be powerful enough to deliver the expected output. And that's
I'm curious.
yeah,
So,
that's what project.
what was
Mhm.
the thought process? Kasi if I'm not mistaken, Madison is like it's like a template, right? That you're offering for mga tama ba agents or people working with customers. So,
Yeah,
like, how did you? I mean, just putting myself in your shoes. What was the problem you wanted to address?
yeah. So that's a very good question. So, diba, through experiencing, trying to improve the process, by incorporating Lean Six Sigma methodologies into the workflow,
Mm-hmm.
I figured out you will never achieve 100% in terms of customer satisfaction.
Yep.
There will always be people who will be angry or will be frustrated with your products or your clients' products and services, no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I did is instead of trying to fix that particular problem, kasi ang dami, you
Yep.
cannot simply single them out one by one. Why
When you
don't
say
you just,
problem from the perspective of whom? The agent or whoever? People talking
from
to
the
customers?
good question. So, from the perspective of both, actually.
Okay.
So, I try to, start off with this mindset na in a customer service setting that ideally uses AI as one of their, I guess multiplying factor
Mm-hmm.
or, force multiplier. Um, the ideal scenario would be that the agent does not have to perceive the job as more taxing than it already is. Because imagine an agent, let's say for example, your typical agent, diba?
Mm-hmm.
Who is still trying to get used to the night shift because most customer service jobs here in the Philippines is uh you know graveyard shift and night shift,
Yeah.
and so it's very difficult sometimes to rest fully. You couple that with the fact that your customers are most likely going to reprimand you for something you might have not done,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes it more stressful. And on the customer side, because of this sort of predicament that the agent might be experiencing, as a result, um, the output isn't refined. It's not clean. It's not it isn't optimized
Yeah.
for the job sometimes. And the customer may the first thing that the customer would notice is uh the person on the other side of the line may be tired
Yeah. Or
and
frustrated, no, with
or
whatever
frustrated.
problem they have, no.
Exactly. And siguro ano, but this depends on the agent. This depends on the individual.
Mm.
The person or the agent isn't that trained well when it comes to speaking. In basic English grammar. It
Yeah.
happens. It happens. And I guess that's one of the things that I wanted to tackle as well with Project Madison. If you are unable to speak to customers, or if you're, let's say for example, let alone you may not, or you may still be in the process of trying to siguro gusto mong i-improve yung English skills mo.
Mm.
One of the things siguro ano na-realize ko na lang to ano as a side effect. The more I started using the process after I built it,
Yeah.
is you get more exposed to again, quote unquote AI English, which
Yeah.
is supposedly grammatically correct and consistent and precise.
But
And and so yeah, and so the more the agent is exposed to this sort of structure and way of speaking, I guess siguro you can say na ano na
so it
the agent.
improves their skills, in other words.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
got it.
it
Yeah.
also trains them too.
Mm.
So
So wait, sige, just to give context to the people who have not seen this. You have a prompt template and you allow the agent to fill in the blanks, no?
exactly.
And then the result is kind of an interactive conversation session with in this case it's Microsoft Copilot.
Yeah, yeah.
And the way it will work is it's basically a coach, to the agent while having conversations with the customer. The co-pilot can be an assistant to whatever they're doing. Is
It,
that how it works?
yeah, sort of. Yeah, more or less. It could work that way as well.
Okay.
I guess the ultimate goal of the process was to save time, and you can use that time that you save to sort of allocate it to just talking to the customer, you know,
Mm.
talking to them like a person.
So to
And
make this really work, kasi I'm trying to visualize the situation. I'm an agent. I'm talking to you. Maybe JJ is the customer.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then while I'm having the conversation, am I having a chat also with Copilot to dump ideas or stuff? Or is Copilot the one prescribing ideas and then I talk to the customer about it and tell Copilot what the response was? So how would that work out?
Well, if it worked out that way, you may not have the facilities to sort of properly talk to the customer better.
Yeah.
Um, the I guess the way it works, the way the process goes is, especially if you are in the setting, let's say in my day job, we use a transcriber, which
Mm,
automatically transcribes the conversation.
yeah.
And so, in a way, you're able to capture yung spirit ng call, yung essence of the moment, and you can copy paste that essence and then just feed it into the prompts. And
Okay.
then
So this is more done after the call, tama ba? Parang off call or during the call or both?
um I, I guess siguro ano, two-thirds of the way
Mm.
out the call. You can actually make this naman habang habang naka-hold ka with the
Okay.
customer. And yeah, I managed to sort of make it, or bring down the total time it took to send a response. Dati it took me an hour or so because I was
Mm.
experimenting still with it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
true.
yeah, thankfully, I had this opportunity na parang okay lang kasi when they were trying to sort of scour through my calls, they also had a way to sort of check the videos as well.
So they
And
didn't mind, your company didn't mind
pretty much,
that you were putting some inputs into Copilot. I guess it's an internal Copilot, right?
yeah, yeah,
And so it's not a security problem. And then you were
yeah,
letting Copilot help you diagnose or come up
exactly.
with outcomes, no?
Yeah, and I wouldn't really say na ano na they didn't mind. It's more like they weren't aware that we had Copilot
Oh, really? Okay.
as
Okay.
as a tool. I kept pointing it out to my boss,
Wait,
to
wait,
my
wait. The
colleagues.
company didn't know, or your team didn't know that
Operations.
your company actually had Copilot
Yes,
licensed because
that is
you're on
true.
Office 365, no? And that would have a Copilot. Tama?
Yes, tama.
That is amazing in
Yeah,
a
and
very weird very weird way. Kasi usually
yeah,
it's the
yeah,
opposite eh. Parang companies don't want you to be using some external chatbot, obviously. But
yeah,
in your
exactly.
case, they didn't know na meron palang internal chatbot,
Yeah,
and
in my case,
and you found a really cool way of maximizing the output.
exactly. So, noon ko nalaman na, uy, may ganito pala. Sabi ko
Okay.
sa boss ko nun, uy, boss, ano, meron pala tayo nito.
Mhm.
If you wanna compare two products together from the client, you can type it in. That was the first thing that I told him.
Yeah.
And that was sometime just this year, I told them. And ayun, I was actually quite surprised as well kasi meron palang ganito and people didn't know that we had this too.
So wait.
And
You started doing this how long? Like 6 months ago or since last year or paano?
when I discovered Copilot,
Uh-huh.
just this year, sometime around February. Before that,
Ah.
I have to admit that I was too naive to, use some of the free services that ChatGPT used
To poke around,
and
no? Yeah,
to
yeah.
poke around. And I didn't know that at that time that was to be used as training data. But most of
Hmm.
but then again, most of the prompts naman na ginagawa ko nun last year with 3.5, most of them are personal. And then sometimes I would ask publicly available information online. And and because ChatGPT 3.5 did not have access to internet, and then yung cutoff niya nun, I think it was September 2021 when it was released to the public last
Mhm.
year, 2023. It wasn't very capable in terms of what I wanted it to do at that time. Pero
So
nung
you were already
nag-progress,
testing it out as early as then and and thinking what like how does
yeah,
this thing work? Okay. So wait. Say tama. So you were using ChatGPT, you were figuring it out, and then
yeah,
early this year, 2024, you discovered you guys had Copilot. How did you go about poking around Copilot? Like how did you go about testing it?
good question. So yun, I just asked it first. At first, I asked it basic prompts like what's the difference between this and that, and then this product and that product, and provide me a full list of their differences so that I can
Hmm.
send them to my customers by text. Parang
Amazing.
ganun.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I noticed kasi having just trying to describe it for people no. The way your prompt works, it's kind of like para siyang pseudo code, no? Parang ganun ang dating. Very programmatic. How did you come across that approach? Is that something you learned elsewhere or you intuited on your own? Kasi it works eh. Certainly it works.
Yeah, good question as well. So when I tried to that actually came from a previous project that I did, not for the company, but for freelancers,
Mm.
for freelance copywriters.
Mm-hmm.
After my bout nung ginawa ko yung 1.3 and then the subsequent project, the black sheep, tawag ko dun, data extraction v 1.7 skinwalker method, which
Mm.
basically used the client's voice via a web scraper. Kukunin mo yung boses nila through their data.
Mm-hmm.
And and then it progressed into a subset, which I call super proxy sequence, named after yung kanta ng Eraserheads, which is Super Proxy.
Yeah.
Kasi pag binasa mo yung lyrics it's basically someone selling a way to replace you at that moment. So, nang kung tinatamad ka, you can outsource yourself to someone else. Yun yung
Yeah.
basic idea ng kanta. And and out of that, I built the project as a way to sort of replicate the client's voice in your copy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what super proxy sequence was for. And I tried to make it as simple as possible para hindi maguluhan yung mga freelance copywriters because it was targeted for beginners and newbies.
Yeah.
And then I came across this this website. Wolfram, Wolfram
Alpha
programmatic.
or a
Yeah,
Wolfram Mathematica. Parang ang dami nun, di ba?
exactly.
Oo.
Yeah, the same guys.
Mm.
So they happen to have this parang repository, which is I can share it in the show notes.
Yeah.
And it's basically a repository of how to programmatically retrieve the data. So you're basically
Using an AI or using, programming.
using AI.
Okay.
So it's kind of a way siguro dun. I don't understand it fully like 100% either, pero it's a way siguro for prompt engineers to talk to AI in a way that they would understand if they didn't have the capability to format the data in a way that humans would understand. Parang
Mm.
ganun. Parang
Yeah.
it's the equivalent of talking to a Linux machine using
Right.
nothing but the terminal. Parang ganun. Not relying on the UI too much.
This is in Wolfram Alpha. They had a repository. Tama ba?
Exactly. Yeah, it's the same guys.
Okay.
It's Wolfram. And yeah, when I came across it, sabi ko, uy, ang daming mo palang pwedeng gawin programmatically. You
Mm-hmm.
can retrieve a lot of things. You can do a lot of things with it. What would happen if I combine them together in a way
Mm.
that would make sense for a copywriter to use them and then have the output be consistent all throughout.
No, what I
So
like about your approach, this is for the listeners also, no. Unless you're happy to run through your document later online, no, but you don't have to. Um, is it makes sense intuitively, eh? Kasi the way I read it is normally it's the other way around. People would use prompting to simulate coding, 'di ba? Parang it's like coding in English, but what you're doing is trying to do what a code would do. Whereas in your approach, you kind of flipped it around. You use coding explicitly as a prompt, and you have your, your variables, your arrays, ganyan. Which many people may not intuitively want to do unless they're programmers then. But kahit programmers, I find programmers are also shy about leveraging AI. Some are, but not all. So there so I'm curious how you came across that parang insight. And you're saying you were browsing through Wolfram. That's how you got to it. Is that correct, or you found
yeah,
other approaches?
that's true. Yeah, that is correct. Because
Okay.
napapansin ko kasi for most prompters, they would expect that the next output na ipoproduce ng LLM is the final output. But
Mm.
it's like taking a photo. It's not exactly if you're a
It's
photographer.
iteration. Oh.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Iteration, continuous improvement. You have the means to do so. It's not a finite amount that you are equipped with. If you are paid, of course, if you're using the plus version at least. But
Mm.
then again, even with the free versions,
Yeah,
magagawa mo pa rin,
the free stuff's pretty powerful. A lot of people
yeah,
actually underestimate it. I was just talking to someone, literally just today, and anyway, long story short,
yeah,
he
uh,
pioneered hindi naman pioneered, but he's starting to share his approaches to using AI for his profession. And he went into the realm of custom GPTs. He's creating custom chatbots na may naka-upload na documents, or in this case data sets, no. And he was trying to explain to his colleagues, who I won't say who para just to keep it anonymous, na you can easily dive through spreadsheets that are very large and start querying it like the way you would query a database, parang SQL, no, or using Python. Pero siya, he was doing it in natural language. So I said, that's awesome. And then I made a suggestion, kasi it was more about na you can actually use the chatbot to suggest some questions to you about how to analyze a spreadsheet. And to my surprise, the person said, "No, no, no. I wouldn't recommend how to doing that. Uh, this approach is for you to ask questions about your data. But if you ask a chatbot to suggest questions to you, it'll be random. And I was completely surprised. Ako lang yata yung na-surprise. It was a room full of people who didn't use AI kasi except this guy. Na, wow, this person already had gotten that far and already created a chatbot. But somehow, part of his brain was close to the idea of letting the chatbot suggest ways of asking questions. Parang one-way street siya. Naging, so sabi ko sayang. I didn't bring it up anymore, obviously, because this person was the star of the show. I don't want to embarrass him. But on the side, I did that same approach that I suggested. No, I got his custom chatbot. I'll probably send it to him at some point. May conversation na ako. And rather than having an idea in my head of how I want to ask a question, I literally asked the chatbot, give me 20 questions. I would ask if I wanted to look for anomalies in that spreadsheet. So you have a little idea na what the case was. And ang ganda ng sagot. Oh, you should ask for significant variances, mga ganyan. So situations that maybe if you were used to looking for anomalies, you would know. But if you're coming at it completely cold,
Yeah.
nothing beats asking AI how to ask AI. I even wrote an article about this couple of days back na parang everyone's obsessed about asking consultants and experts about AI use cases. Ako, I wouldn't even pretend to know. Although I knew a couple of things already. The first thing I would ask is the AI. Hey AI, tell me how to ask you about something. And maybe the answers may not be 100% perfect. But to someone who's starting from zero, that's an amazing way of getting started. No, sorry, I medyo na trigger kasi ako with your with your
Oh yeah.
explanation, and I found that sayang. No, so anyway, I mean, for me, it's enough that in this particular sector, there's this particular person who's advocating for custom chatbots. Certainly, you should do it. I just get the feeling na from this person's perspective, I'm just making an assumption. From this person's perspective, parang wow, naka-discover na siya ng gold in this method. But in my head, pare, that's one out of 100 other methods that you are invalidating. Kasi nga you found this cool method. Well, kudos to you is all I can say in my head. Na kudos to you. You got there, self-studied for several months, and now you're evangelizing your colleagues. Perfect. Kaya nga sabi ko, no, you do it. Pero in my head, sayang. Kasi many people don't even get that far. So parang nangyari, kumbaga sa Six Sigma, nag-skip na siya agad to black belt. Pero parang he would invalidate everything na yellow belt, green belt, I mean, in Six Sigma terms, no? Uh, he's asking people to jump agad to black belt. In my head, there's no reason naman to go through each. I mean, if you can handle the rigor of that level. But I feel that parang it's another myopia happening, no? But it's fun. It's just fascinating how people are learning this, no? And it's already kind of 2 years into the trend already. If you think about it, we've had this
Yeah.
stuff since November 2022, diba? And dapat lang siguro by this time people are making custom chatbots. So unfortunately, hindi pa rin eh. And in your work, it's kind of in the middle ground. It's not basic prompting. It's not custom chatbot. It's kind of in the middle where you have these high performance prompts that actually involve either coding or pseudocode. And I find the method really compelling. So okay, I'll stop talking now. Back to you.
Yeah. It's
I don't know.
a
Yeah.
it's a really good point. Yeah. Thanks for the insight. It's actually quite interesting. Yung you create a prompt for the AI to sort of try to think yourself out of this box that you're on the premise that you are already trying to think outside the box.
Yes.
Parang parang it's a box outside the box itself. Ang kulit. Yeah, that's quite an interesting thought.
Yeah, it's recursive eh. That's another word eh.
Yeah.
Parang we're used to talking to machines kasi in a one-way street. I'll press a button, something happens, no?
Mm.
It's even up to software development palaging ganun. You do a command, it does the command. Like one favorite prompt that I would love to share with you, maybe after our talk,
Sure.
is you can actually ask, and this is actually similar or close to your method. You can ask a chatbot to simulate a program without even writing the program. You just write basically the front end. I want you to simulate blah 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 program with the following functions. And here are the menu options. And this is what you should allow the user to do. Either go back to the main menu or kunyari,
Oh,
I've used it to create a Filipino recipe generator.
wow,
Ganun lang
okay.
siya. I want you to simulate a Filipino recipe generator program. Here are the menus. Like create new recipe, retrieve recipe, enhance existing recipe, think of something new. Purong ganun, no?
Yeah.
And then at all times, wait for the user to. This is literally the prompt. At all times, wait for the user's input and then perform the task. At any time the user types zero or menu, go back to the main menu. And my God, it performs exactly like a software without having to write the back end. No?
Oh,
And it's an interesting, weird, parang hack eh. It's actually a hack lang eh. Kasi in many cases, people get these mental blocks. No? Parang kunyari, you're a
mm,
writer, sabi mo, I can't write anything. But then by doing a prompt like this, you kind of short circuit parang the mental block. Parang the in the guise of pretending to be, let's say you create a program called Writer's Block Eliminator, something like that, and it gives you ideas. Parang in the course of accessing this pseudo software, your brain gets hacked and you actually generate new ideas. And then the LLM naman, sunod-sunuran naman siya na, okay, I'll pretend to be a writer's block eliminator from the best of their knowledge, which is everything on the internet. And it's able to support the program indefinitely. And for me, that's just a little glimpse of the power that we have at our disposal. Many software developers kasi, they can't get out of their by the way, I'm a self-taught developer, no. So
wow.
that's my caveat, no. I'm not like comsci or whatever, right?
Okay.
So my thoughts around these are medyo rebellious na
Uh,
I don't even need to know all of that anymore, no? Like I can write a decent Python script or a PHP code or a JavaScript program. Pero at this point, I don't really need to anymore kasi I may need a very very simple piece of software. I'll just ask the meron ngang to jump into another digression. There's even an LLM that can create a totally new game, no? Pipiliin mo
wow.
na lang yung idea, bigyan the parameters, pack, and then you have a screen and you're playing the game, no? And sabi ko,
Oh,
grabe, this is beyond recursive. This thing can prompt you to prompt it to prompt you back. Parang ganun ang dating. And I don't think people are ready for that kind of interaction.
huh,
And what you're doing is kind of at the doorstep of that na. Parang binigyan mo na ng interface yung call center agent to improve their output.
yeah.
And to a company, that's either good or bad, no? Maybe it's bad because it invalidates a lot of the software they bought. But that's actually good because you can eliminate all of the software you bought. Just have an interesting LLM with a couple of good prompts, and there you
Yeah.
go. You now have a totally full software stack. Just thinking out loud, no? I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm
yeah,
too
exactly.
idealistic.
Well, that's not very far from the truth. Because we can basically, you can imagine, imagine you now have this ability to hire a data analyst, an HR manager.
In a bot.
Uh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what kind of service, where else would you find this person na, sabihin natin tao to, yung LLM.
Yeah.
Where else would you find this person that you can hire for just $20?
Some of the
It's
people I
mostly,
talk to, they get threatened by that eh. Parang, lalo na, I'm gonna generalize lalo na mga people who studied data science for years, maybe they've been working for a decade or less, software development. Kasi parang to them, oh, yung pinag-aralan ko for 10 years, hindi lang naman mong kayang-kayang gawin niya ng isang chatbot, something like that. And in my head, I understand why you feel that way. I mean, look at me. Yeah, I've been in this gig for nearly 30 years. But I don't feel married to it. Gets mo? Parang I never did. I never did. In fact I hated half of the stuff I had to study to learn software development, to learn data analysis. Because a lot of it is really manual and full of errors. Talagang ganun. And people miss the point that parang we're not writing assembly code anymore. If we ever did. I used to write BASIC and Fortran. I'm happy that I don't have to do it. Kasi nga, I can click a few buttons on Excel and it does all the macro work for me. I think it's the same thing na parang we shouldn't feel married to the hard parts of our job. That doesn't mean your job will disappear. Your tasks might change. Parang ganun eh. And for me, it's automatic. Naalala ko nung una kong tinatanong ng IB Papa about that. So, Doc, will jobs go away? I said AI automates tasks, not jobs. At best, at worst, your jobs will change. If you refuse to change, then maybe you're out of a job. Parang ganun. And they don't
Mhm.
buy it. Nakikita ko sa mata nila eh, it sounds like a cop-out answer. Parang you're being, equivocating. And then, kaya I'm so happy to talk to someone like you. You're working on the ground as an agent and you're innovating. You're basically a software developer. You're creating these LLM scripts and it's getting stuff done and to the point that you're offering it as a service not to freelancers. I don't think half of the software people I've ever met who are like just doing programming as a job even ever really got that far. No, there are a few who kind of made it, pero most people they're maintaining the code of other people. Parang ganun ang dating. Anyway, again, I'm ranting again. Sige, stop na ako.
Yeah, yeah.
Back to you.
Yeah, that's a that's a good point. Yeah. So that's a really good observation, eh. Say, you know, imagine if we didn't have these things to begin with. Uh, how would you how would a someone who, let's say for example, you meet someone who is naturally talented but do not have the means to express this talent.
Mhm.
So sayang naman, 'di ba? And so that's one of, I guess that's one of the few, or one of the many good things na AI was able to democratize for a lot of people is what used to be a sort of technology that was so alien to the everyday person. We now have it, and it's now being presented as a way to make things faster for the average Joe, which is magandang. It's a really it's a nice progress that we should, that people, as much as I want to, to encourage people to use AI. Of course, they have the reasons naman. Pero for the most part, a lot of people are doing a lot of things with it, and it's really amazing. It's what a time to be alive at.
No, I want to recall
Beautiful.
yung earlier point mo about the first reaction to your innovation was that we already have a research team. In other
Oh yeah.
words, in other words, wag ka na, 'di ba?
No,
I
parang
I find that so classic kasi there are many fields that are exactly like that. Like ano bang credential mo to get things done, you know? Like I get a
exactly.
lot of flack about my name. I di ba I call myself doc no, but I never I'm not a medical doctor. My brother is, I didn't take a PhD. People assume I did because I teach PhDs also, funny enough. Pero in my and I don't know nga, maybe one day I'll just do it para wala nang problema. But on the other hand, I'd hate to lose the joke na
No.
you don't need it. You really do not. I mean, those who have it, I would say most of them don't even maximize it. Most of the people with a doctorate. What are you doing in a clerical position? You have a PhD. Why aren't you leading a research team? Oh, whatever. Kung ano man mga rason. Or academia, which is mostly politics. Hindi eh. Parang for me, all the more. Kudos to you. You finished your PhD. You better maximize it. Ako nga na walang PhD, kung ano-anong pinaggagawa ko eh. And it's not something I lord over other people. It's just me. I just love getting things done. Sometimes people get irritated by that, no? And they say, yan si Doc. Puro postura. Not many, but a few do. And when I look into who these people are, or making comments, all of them have one sterling characteristic. These are people who never get anything done. They never do. They do a lot of talking, but then when you look at exactly what have they done, is just create more talks. Talk, 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 talk. I do a lot of talking too, no? But the fraction of my talking versus the stuff I've done, I don't even scratch the surface. Kaya I love meeting people like you, JJ, kasi you're the guys who never get a shot and you persisted. You punched through. And now you're helping other people. So, well, just like that, an hour goes by, no? So I want to maximize the last few minutes. So
Oh,
where do you intend to take this stuff that you've developed? No? Anong balak mo with it?
so yeah, given all these things that I built, siguro I try to envision a future na you can find new purpose in your job. You can find new purpose in your work. Um, there has to be some sort of change to take place for the BPO company or the BPO industry. Para sa akin, I guess you can call this my own rant, which is there are still some stuff that, well, there's nothing wrong with it naman. Most of the administrative processes take place eh. It's been there for, it's mga dinosaur.
It's tradition.
Yeah, yeah, it's this, they're trying to maintain this sort of thing na yung trope na the customer does not understand the agent, so and so forth, and the interaction has always been this way at
Why
since
change what's not
forever.
broken? Parang ganon, no?
Yeah,
Or we've always
but
done it this way, so we get lost punk. Parang ganon
exactly,
ang
yeah.
dating.
But then again, if it's already been broken in the first place, and people just sort of grew into the fact that it was broken, parang may nakita ang vase na may crack, and you thought na, oh, it was always there. And siguro one of the things that I could do is maybe I can replace that vase,
Mm-hmm.
or make it look prettier. But those people who would look at it in the future, they would say, "Wow, this it has a crack on it, pero this crack has been sort of tried. Someone tried to mend it."
Mm. Mm. Yeah,
And
tsaka people forget na once upon a time, none of us, anyone who's anyone right now or supposedly an expert, everyone started out from zero, di ba?
exactly, yeah,
And they got a break. It's funny how gatekeeping works eh. Parang the people who end up doing gatekeeping, it's funny how the motivations, parang they wanna cling to some desperate power or ideal. And
that's the
you'll never measure up.
yeah, that's the funny thing nga dun eh, kasi when because power keeps shifting. It's not a static thing eh,
Yeah.
when it comes to human interaction. And human social dynamics uh involve uh power. It's like yung bagong microwave na patatas, 'di ba? When you try to microwave a potato,
I like
try
how
to
you use the microwave in the most unexpected
no, kasi I guess it's a better way to explain it eh. Kasi
oh.
there's this reality layer to it. So yun, you're trying to keep it to yourself, but in the end, at the end of the day, ikaw din itong mapapaso eh. And wala din nangyari na walang progress na nangyari. So why not just throw it to someone else? Or no, I guess why not just, not gatekeep these things? Parang like what Zuckerberg is doing now with
Mm, mm,
Llama.
mm.
He's trying to sort of become, I guess he didn't I don't think he tried to explicitly state it, pero he wants to be the next Linus Torvalds.
I think so. Parang de, I think he gave the metaverse a good shot and
Yeah, that was a nice
bagsak yung
run.
value nung Facebook. Now he pivoted to AI and he's giving it his shot. Ironically nga,
Yep.
it's actually the Facebook, the Meta AI that's open source. Everyone's building on top of it. Llama 2, Llama 3,
Yeah.
uh, more than the open AIs, no? And the Anthropics and all these closed sourced
And yeah, it's quite
people.
ironic na OpenAI has open on its brand,
Di na
but
nga
it's
eh,
a
di ba?
closed source system.
Hindi, tapos now they're for profit. Anyway, sige. I want to save some for the next episode.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
what
absolutely.
we can do is we can do a walkthrough when you're ready of your tool. It would be nice to do some sort of a co-pilot demo if you're
Oh,
allowed to, no. But for now, specifically coming from you, your background, what you've done, I would like to invite you to give some words, especially to people working in BPOs, about what you've experienced, what you're doing now. How should they learn from what you've done? No? What kind of, and then knowing that AI is supposedly coming to take people's jobs, true or false, no? Give them
mm,
something, no, to hang on to.
absolutely. So yeah, if you are a BPO agent, a call center agent, do know that time will not wait for anyone, and that includes every one of us. And this generation is here to stay. this sort of revolution in AI. And although I personally do not believe na we will have sort of Arnold Schwarzeneggers or
The
Matrix
T800.
twins. Yeah, exactly. We won't have those in the near future at least. It would the world would still be ruled by people who have a lot of money, and they would prefer people in the future to become well versed with the tools that they already have at that point, and that includes AI. So I highly encourage you to do as best as you can. You don't necessarily have to sort of give yourself fully to it or to surrender your soul to artificial intelligence, like a ghost in the shell kind of thing.
Hey, I
Hindi
love
naman
that. Ghost
ganun.
in the Shell. One of my favorite anime.
Yeah, yeah. But y- I guess if you wanna sort of be ride the waves, you know, ride the waves and see where it takes you. Try to do your best to become irreplaceable. Maybe you want to be irreplaceable. Maybe you have some people you want to take care of, and in the future, what if hindi ka na ma-hire because of a deficiency that right now you can completely avoid. And I guess it's sort of a negative thing. It's sort of a cynical, semi-dystopian thing. Um, hopefully it won't be realized. One of my dystopian vision is that the future call center will be turned into a data center instead. But then again, if you are really serious about ensuring your future for yourself as well as for the ones you care for, try to ride the wave. See where it takes you. Yun.
All right. Well said. And yeah, to your point, many call centers already are data centers. They just have people sitting on top. So ang tanong is, how long will that last? So anyway, I
Wow.
wanna thank you, JJ, for sharing your work.
Oh,
Um, this will definitely not be the last time we talk. And yeah, and more power to you. Looking forward to having you on the show again very soon.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for the time as well, Doc Ligot.